I've got a question for you. Why are some athletes able to do things like snatches, overhead squats, kipping pull-ups, kipping muscle-ups, ring dips, and have no problems whatsoever, while some athletes can hardly put themselves into those positions? Why are some athletes able to hit PRs consistently and jump from the scaled to the RX, even the RX plus divisions, when other athletes are left trying to get there and trying to ascend to the next level, but they're just stuck making the same scaled progressions over and over? Why are some people able to stay injury-free for their entire career while others are left battling shoulder problems day in and day out? Hi, my name is Ben, and I'm the head coach of WODprep, and in this video, I'm gonna share with you exactly the framework that I've used and hundreds of athletes have used to unlock their shoulder performance. I'm gonna answer a few of those questions I just posed, and I'm gonna give you everything you need to know about how to take your performance to the next level. So, when it comes to shoulder mobility, I've been the athlete who's been held back by things like snatches. I actually was doing CrossFit for several months prior to even being able to overhead squat a barbell. I couldn't put any weight on the bar, and it had already been like 6-7 months. I was good at cleans, and I could do some double unders and stuff like that, but I couldn't even overhead squat more than 45 pounds. It was pretty embarrassing. So one day, what I decided to do was I decided to seek a professional. I needed someone to help me out, and I'm gonna tell you that story here. So what I did was I went downtown. I was working out at my college gym. I went to North Carolina State University, and I was training by myself, doing my own coaching, following my own programming, when I realized that I needed an expert to help me unlock my performance if I wanted to get to the next level. So what I did was I went downtown, I found some great people at CrossFit Invoke, and they taught me exactly what I needed to do to unlock my potential as an athlete. And sure enough, after 3 months, I took all of the money that I had in my bank account, which was not very much, I assure you. I took all of my money, pulled it together, and said, hey, can you please take this for a 3-month membership? I know it's more than the discount you're willing to give, but please give me a shot. And sure enough, they said, hey, we'll let you train. All you have to do is clean up the gym from time to time. And sure enough, I got in there, I got to work, and I learned and I absorbed everything from the experts around me. And 3 months down the road, I came out of that gym looking like a new athlete, and luckily, they invited me back to start coaching because they saw my potential as both a coach and an athlete. The biggest lesson that I learned from that entire situation was that sometimes you need to humble yourself if you want to ascend to the next level. So for me, I needed to humble myself. I was a cocky college kid, and basically I needed to say, hey, I don't know what the heck's going on. I need help. And that's why you're here today. I am here to help you get to the next level when it comes to your shoulder or unlocking your shoulder performance as an athlete. So before we get into today's training, I have to give you a warning. Everything that you've learned about shoulder mobility in the past, things that you might have read in some very popular books, I need you to throw that totally out the window. There are some very common practices and common misconceptions that have gone rampant around the CrossFit industry and the functional fitness industry, and I want you to throw everything out the door and come into this training with a fresh mindset, because what we're going to tell you, what I'm going to teach you, and the things that I've discovered about unlocking people's shoulder potential, it's stuff that you might not have heard of, and we're going to approach it in a slightly different way. One of the problems with the tactics that people have been using is that it doesn't create lasting change. I'm here to help you create lasting change and improve in the long term as an athlete. I don't want you to hang out in a stretch for 2 minutes, experience change that only lasts for a couple minutes, and then you're right back to where you started. That's not effective to me. I don't think that that's going to help take you as an athlete, or even you as a coach trying to help other athletes, to the next level. So in this video, I'm going to explain the 3-part system that here at WODprep we use to teach athletes how to fully unlock their potential as an athlete if their shoulders are the things holding them back. So if you're a beginner, this system is going to teach you how to do overhead squats and how to be comfortable finally snatching the barbell and hopefully get a little bit stronger. If you're a competitor, I hope that you can use this system to unlock a couple PRs that are just waiting to happen, to unlock a little bit of that extra performance, that 3, 4, 5% that's preventing you from ascending to the next level. And also, if you're a coach, I hope that this training will help you protect your athletes and give them a lasting long-term change, instead of them continually coming back to you and saying, hey coach, my shoulders bother me, what the heck's going on? Oh, stretch it for 2 minutes. No. This is a long-term solution. So I'm really excited to share with all three, the beginner, the competitive athlete, and the coach. I think this system is really gonna help. So what I've done is I've partnered with 2 of my best friends and the most knowledgeable people I know about this subject. Coach Gary Dubs and Dr. CJ DePalma. They are expert when it comes to movement, mobility, and becoming high performance functional athletes. Dr. CJ has worked with Sam Briggs and other high-level games competitors in the past, and Coach Gary is a high-level competitor himself and has his own facility in Maryland. So these guys are experts, and what we've done is we've combined all three of our heads and we've developed a system that is going to totally revolutionize the way that we approach long-term shoulder performance. And the system, what it's called, is the MS2 system. So in a second, I'm gonna reveal what the heck that weird phrase means, and you're gonna know exactly what the MS2 stands for and how it's gonna affect you in the long run to make you a better athlete. So before we get into the training, do me a favor, print out, below this video there should be a button. You need to print out the PDF and follow along as I draw on the whiteboard and kind of break down what the MS2 system is. So there's a PDF that I've created with the WODprep team to help give you a little bit more value and make sure that you actually pay attention and learn from this video. It's one thing to watch a video and just passively, watch what's happening. It's another thing to take notes, because that is what's gonna help engrave this knowledge into your head and make a long-term impact on your coaching and or your training as an athlete. So do me a favor, print that out right now, press pause on this video really quick, print it out, and get ready to learn the complete MS2 system. Okay, so you should have printed out a PDF that looks something like this, or at least pulled it up on your computer so that you can take notes, because it's really important that you understand the MS2 system, because it is the framework for totally transforming your performance as an athlete, or if you're a coach and you can understand this stuff, it is going to change your athletes' lives. So let's talk about it. The MS2 system stands for mobility. Obviously, a lot of people know about this one. Mobility is a major component in shoulder health and shoulder performance, but it is often the most sought after and overly popularized thing about the entire shoulder. So mobility is not always the answer, and we're going to talk about why here in a second. So we have mobility, and then the next component is stability. So if you have mobility but not stability, what does it look like? Well, that's your athlete that has really, really flexible shoulders and can get a barbell over their head really easily. They can probably squat with it like this with their hands, but they can't stabilize. They're wobbly. When they hop on a set of rings, they're shaking all over the place, and they might even fall through because their shoulders are so flexible. So to have mobility but to not have stability is a major, major problem in the sport. And then the last aspect, and then we're going to pull it all together, is strength. So that is the MS2 system. So we have M and then two S's: mobility, stability, and strength. Now let's talk about each individual part and then how we can develop ourselves to be a well-rounded, high-performance athlete. So for mobility, if I have mobility but then lack stability and strength, I'll be a noodle. And I say noodle, but this is sometimes what I refer to, not in a mean way, but I refer to some athletes who can do anything they want. They can put their body in any position, but they're not able to stabilize and they're not able to hold any weight. So this is the kind of noodle athlete that, just like in my example, can perform any mobility trick that you want them to, but they're still hardly able to move anything more than the barbell. They can't do any of the more complex gymnastic movements. That's because they're very mobile. They have no mobility restrictions, but they're lacking stability and strength. So this is a huge thing to understand, that mobility is only one piece of the puzzle. So what would a stable athlete look like? Someone who is stable but can't move any weight and they're not mobility, there's really no point, right? So what's the point of being stable but not having any mobility and not having any strength? That's someone who can easily put a barbell overhead, but they can't squat with it because they're not mobile enough, and they can't put anything more than the barbell on it because they don't have the strength. So that's one of the keys here. There's no point to having stability without the proper mobility and the strength, okay? It's also non-functional. So it's non-functional because, again, there's really no point of having just stability without any mobility or strength. Now, what does it look like if we have just strength? That's your traditional, maybe, power lifter. Okay, so a traditional power lifter is someone that can move massive amounts of weight, but if you tell them to do an overhead squat, guess what? They're not going to move much more than a PVC pipe because they can't even put the barbell, or they can't even put any sort of weight overhead because they lack the range of motion. They lack the mobility. And then a lot of times, especially with bodybuilders, they look strong, they can move some weight, but as soon as you put them on a set of rings, they're wobbling all over the place. As soon as you get a barbell overhead, they're shaking. That's because they lack stability. They lack the mobility to put themselves in the right position, and they lack the stabilizer muscles to control themselves in the positions they need to be in. So in the middle here, this is what I call old man strength. And some of you might know exactly what I'm talking about, the old, kind of old guy syndrome. You can move weight all day long and you might be stable, but guess what? You're not getting into any of the positions. Those are the people who can, they can do dips like this all day long, but they sure as heck can't get all the way down below parallel to get the RX. They can do pull-ups all day long, but getting all the way down to full extension and able to actually kip through the motion, it's not happening. This is a guy who can, power clean the barbell like this and then press it overhead at 225 pounds, but they can't actually put themselves in a good front rack position. They can't jerk overhead with full extension. And a lot of times these people are plagued with injuries. Even though they have the stability to control something, they just lack the mobility to get in the proper position, and it pulls on the muscles and can create injury. So what do these two look like? So if I had, let's say, mobility, so I was able to get into good position, but I have strength as well, I'm not going to be able to catch. So what I mean by that is when it comes to doing a muscle up, I could have really good mobility and I can get into position. I can have the strength to pull myself up, the mobility to get into the position, but then boom, I'm falling through or I'm wobbling myself out of the rings, and that's because I can't catch. All right, this also applies to snatches. Someone who's really strong is going to be able to pull that barbell and get it off the ground really, really easily. They can get into great extension because they have good mobility, but then when it comes to receiving the weight overhead, guess what? It's on the floor. There's no way that they're going to be able to catch a moving weight because they lack the stability. All right. Now, if someone has stability and they have mobility, that sounds great, right? But they can't beat gravity. They have great mobility. They can get into any position you want them in, and they have great stability. So they can hold themselves in an overhead squat. They can hold weight overhead, but they can't beat gravity. And that's the beautiful thing about our sport is we have to have strength if we want to move our body, and especially if we want to move a barbell. There's no way that you can move a barbell, a kettlebell, any of these weighted objects that get pretty darn heavy. There's no way you're going to be competitive if you can't beat gravity. So what does this mean? What happens if you're a noodle and you can't do stability and strength? Or what happens if you're really strong but you don't have stability and mobility? Well, if you're missing one of these pieces, then you are hindering yourself as an athlete, and you are lacking in performance. So performance, I barely squeeze it in there, but performance, that is what meets in the middle. So to be the highest performing version of yourself, you need to have the right combination of MS2, of mobility, stability, and strength. You need to have all three of these if you want to meet in the middle and unlock your potential as an athlete. That is your homework for today, is to figure out where you stand. I want you to take a red marker or a red pen and mark where on this continuum you find yourself. If you're really mobile and strong and you have no stability, you can't seem to catch the weight, then maybe you fall in here. Or if you're one of the people who has the old man strength, maybe you can move heavy weight and you can stabilize it, but you sure as heck can't get into the positions very well. Then you would mark a big X here, okay? Ideally, what we want to do over the next few days is I'm going to teach you, along with Gary and CJ, we're going to teach you exactly how to go from, let's say you're a noodle, you're up here, we're going to teach you how to move closer to the center, how to develop and learn all three of these different things and meet in the middle and have optimal performance. So now that you know exactly where you stand as an athlete in this spectrum, and now that you know the three keys to unlocking your shoulder performance, mobility, stability, and strength, there's one more thing that we really need to talk about, and this is probably the most important factor out of all of them, and that is the application of knowledge. So there's a quote that says, "Knowledge without action is worthless," and that's exactly what happens if you walk away from this video and you might understand mobility, stability, and strength and how the MS2 system works, but you don't apply it to your training. It's not gonna help you at all. It's not gonna help you as a coach unless you can apply it somewhere. So that's exactly what we're gonna talk about in the next video. In the next video, I'm gonna give you a step-by-step solution exactly how you can apply drills that increase your mobility, increase your stability, and increase your strength all at the same time. And I'm gonna give you a step-by-step checklist to make sure that you're implementing MS2 into your training and into your training habits. So all of that's going to be coming in the next video, and I'm telling you right now, it is the key to putting this into practice. But before you go, I need you to do something for me. Leave a comment below this video and let me know where you stand as an athlete. Are you someone who has mobility, but you don't have strength and stability? Or you're someone who has the strength, you have the stability, and then you are indeed lacking mobility? Maybe you're someone who's really strong, but you can't do either mobility or stability. Let me know where you stand as an athlete. And then next, I want to know what your goals are. So what would getting here, what would unlocking your shoulder performance, what would being in the center of the MS2 system do for you as an athlete? Let me know what unlocking your shoulder performance would do and how it's going to help you reach your goals. And me, Gary, and CJ, we're all going to be going through the comments, hitting reply, hopefully giving you some good insights about how we can help take you to the next level. And remember, in the next video, we got a lot of good stuff coming. So I realize that you might be overwhelmed at this point. You're like, holy crap, this is really complicated and there's even more training coming. I promise you that over the next couple videos, I'm gonna break everything down even more simply than this, and we're gonna give you the exact step-by-step framework to unlocking your shoulder performance and increasing your abilities as an athlete and a coach. So thanks so much for sticking with me, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.